All right, everybody. Today is Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. We're going to continue with what we were talking about yesterday, looking at two given rules in order to create two number patterns. Again, I have posted two pictures dealing with two given rules and creating and coming up with two patterns for it. It does state that they are function tables. Functions basically meaning that they are a rule. And a lot of times when you look at a function table, you will see that there is an input and an output. Input is basically what you're starting with, almost like saying it is the X, and the output would be the result, and that would be labeled as Y. And as I stated earlier with the class, I mentioned that in order to, let's just like if you're going the door, eventually you're going to have to come out. So you're starting with something, and then you, of course, have to come out with it. So could it happen to where you have an output first and have to figure out the input? Absolutely. You could be given a Y coordinate and not have the X, or vice versa. So no matter what, you need to be able to find the rules, come up with the rules, figure out the rules in order to then find the pattern. Okay. And tomorrow's lesson, just so you know, tomorrow's lesson is where we're going to look at coordinates, X and Y coordinates, ordered pair, and be able to also use a graph to possibly also figure out a pattern for them. Okay. All right. So let's get started, just like yesterday. Here, of course, is a problem. So I'm going to read it to you. You, of course, can read it along as I read it aloud. And we're going to work through it and answer a couple of questions. Okay. All right. It says Nora and Pavel, or Pavel, however you want to pronounce it. I'm just going to say Pavel. Nora and Pavel are playing a game. The game cards show either move forward 3 or move forward 6. Just by chance, Nora draws move forward 3 on her first 3 turns. Pavel draws move forward 6 on his first 3 turns. So here, of course, we see a game board. And what Mr. ONeal likes to do is I like to use a lot of examples in a real life type of concept. Okay, so let's think for a second if you've ever played a board game such as Monopoly, or maybe the Game of Life, or I'm trying to think of another board game. Can't right now, but how about a card game? We have Uno. Uno has draw 4, draw 2. So there's rules within all of that. And just like even Monopoly, you start at go, and then however you decide to play, you work yourself around the board and purchase property, or you rent property, whatever it may be. So there, of course, are rules. So the game that Nora and Pavel are playing is a card game, and Nora draws a card that says move forward 3. So that would mean move forward 3 spaces from start. And Pavel draws a move forward 6 for his first 3 turns, of course, starting at start. All right. So I basically broke down and we made sense of this word problem. Okay. So that's what I want you all to do. Make sense instead of just reading it straight through and trying to answer it. Break it down. Try to make sense of it. Okay. All right. I just minimized it, as you can see on the left-hand side. And there, of course, are 4 different questions. All right. But before I even go ahead and answer any questions, again, I want you to think how I'm thinking. Let's break this down. Let's make some sort of notation. So here is what's going on in Mr. ONeal's mind as to how I can help myself answer this particular question. Okay? I'm going to make a little notation here. And I'm going to say, okay, it states that Nora and Pavel are playing a game. Nora draws a card and it says move forward 3 on her first 3 turns. So I'm just going to put an N for Nora, a P for Pavel, right? And I'm just going to simply just put 1, 2, 3. That's representing her first 3 turns. And Pavel, same thing. 1, 2, 3. Again, this is just something to help me out, help you out, okay? This is something you can do to make more sense of this problem. Now, it says move forward 3. That's what Nora drew, and she has to do it for her first 3 turns. So when I think of that, if she's starting at start, she's going to advance 3 times. or 3 spaces. So let's just say +3. And her second turn, same thing, +3. Her third, +3. So each time she is advancing an additional 3 spaces. Pavel drew a card that said move forward 6. So I'm going to put +6 for each turn. First, second, and third, +6. So now I kind of broke this down again. I made sense of it. As I've mentioned before to my students, take the information out of a word problem so you can understand it better. Make sense of it, okay? Now we're going to work on solving this using this game board here, okay? Using that game board. All right, so A, it says, at what number on the game board is Nora after her first turn? So what does that mean? What number space? Where is Nora after her first turn, her second turn, her third turn? Okay, so let's think about it. I'm going to use blue for her. Okay, and of course, with any game, you have to start at start. So we're going to count and advance 3 spaces. So I'm just going to put an X for Nora. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Again, that's her first turn. Second turn, 1, 2, 3. And now third turn, 1, 2, 3. So that is the markings for Nora. So now let's write that on the line. It says, at what number on the game board is Nora after her first turn? So after her first turn, she's at number 3. So I'm going to write first, just so that way it makes sense. Okay, her second turn. Her second turn, she's at 6. And her third turn, she is at 9. Again, I'm just going to make a mark here. Okay, so we have her first 3 spaces that she is on the board within her first 3 turns. Okay, B, it says, at what number on the game board is Pavel after his first turn, his second turn, his third turn? So I'm going to, of course, use red to help me out. So now let's count. Pavel's card said move forward 6. So if he does that each of his 3 turns, let's see, start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here we notice, of course, in red, those are Pavel's markings. So let's answer the question now. At what number on the game board is Pavel after his first turn? His first turn, he was at number 6. Yeah, I'm just going to write that. His second turn, he was at 12. If you hear some noise, they are cutting grass on the outside, so hopefully they stop. And of course, on the third turn, he is at 18. I'm going to write third. Well, there we go. Okay. All right, cool. So now we have that. Now, C. Come on, can y'all pass my window? They're cutting the grass. All right. C, it says using Nora's locations as the X coordinates and Pavel's locations as the Y coordinates, write the ordered pairs after each turn. Now, let me stop for a quick second. If you remember what Mr. O'Neill had mentioned, right? I had said that the ordered pair, of course, is an X and a Y coordinate. It needs to have an X and a Y coordinate, okay? So, that being said, your ordered pair should look like a parentheses, then an X coordinate, which would be a number, a Y coordinate, and then close parentheses. So I'm just going to write that so that way we can understand. All right? So it says the first row pair. So let's just start with the first one. So this is what I'm talking about. This is what an ordered pair should look like. So you have a parentheses, you have a comma in between, okay? Now, let's figure out. It says using Nora's locations as the X coordinate. So since I wrote Nora's numbers in blue, right next to her name, I'm going to say she is X. And then it says Pavel's locations are Y. So I'm going to write next to Pavel, Y. Okay? So this is going to help me out. Again, using different colors, it might help you as well, okay? So what then would be the first coordinate? Well, I'm going to use her numbers from A. Her first move, she landed on 3. And Pavel's first move, he landed on 6. So that right there is my first ordered pair, 3, 6. X is being represented by Nora. Y is being represented for Pavel. So that's how I got that. Okay. So now I need to come up with the next ordered pair. So let's write a parentheses. And hopefully you're catching on to this. And you might be able to tell what my next ordered pair is going to be. So if I look at A for Nora, her second move was at 6. And Pavel's second move was at 12. Interesting. Hopefully, like I said, you can get the last one. The last one is not 12, 24. I know some students were saying that. We want to use the numbers that we actually have. What was Nora's third move and what number she landed on? That, of course, was 9. Hopefully you guessed that and got it right. Pavel's third move was 18, landed him there. So that was his. So ladies and gentlemen, right now, here we have our 3 ordered pairs for each turn for Nora and Pavel. Now let's go ahead and answer D. Does there appear to be a relationship between Pavel's location and Nora's location? Explain. So that right there means we need a yes or a no answer and then an explanation after it. So does there appear to be a relationship between Pavel's location and Nora's locations? Looking at the game board, looking at our numbers. I know some students had mentioned it before, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to think about it. And hopefully you're able to get it. All right, so looking at our numbers, looking at the game board, I know some students had mentioned it earlier today, and I'm going to just mention what they had said. The relationship that they noticed between Pavel's location and Nora's location, they said, yes, there is a relationship, and then stated what it was. They noticed, and you can say it one of 2 ways. Nora's numbers were half of Pavel's numbers, or you could say Pavel's numbers were double Nora's numbers. So the fact that it says, does there appear to be a relationship between Pavel's location and Nora's location? I'm going to say yes, and then I'm going to say, explain Pavel's locations were double Nora's. All right, so we gave an explanation, we have a reason, and we were able to come up with that answer based upon following the rules that were given to us and therefore being able to find the pattern. So if we were to keep going, let's say, what would Nora and Pavel's locations be after their 5th turn? We should be able to figure that out by counting the next. So if Nora's number is to draw 3, her next number would be, hopefully you guessed it, 12, good. And then Pavel was a draw 6. So then his next number would be, you add 6 to the 18, you would then get 24. So the next ordered pair would be 12, 24. And if you also notice within the ordered pairs, X and Y, you can see 3, 6, 6, 12, 9, 18. The next one would be 12, 24. They are double. Y is double of what X is. Okay? All right. Well, that's basically it and wraps up today's lesson. Hopefully you got something out of it. And as I mentioned before, please go ahead, practice this stuff, and you'll be able to find the work within Google Classroom, or if you're working in a packet, you'll be able to work in there as well. But just keep practicing this and keep getting better. Until next time, see you later.